Ladies and gentlemen, it is often said that love is the most powerful force in the universe. But how do we measure something so intangible? We live in a world that asks us to define everything success, happiness, and even love. We are told that love is something we can feel or see in grand gestures, but is that truly how we should measure it? Love is often portrayed as a profound, all-encompassing feeling, something that sweeps us off our feet or fills us with warmth and joy. While these emotions are undoubtedly part of love, they do not fully capture its essence. Love is not merely a fleeting sensation or a momentary rush of affection. It is, at its core, a verb, an action that requires intention, effort, and consistency. To truly understand love, we must shift our focus from how we feel to what we do. Love is not measured by our feelings in any given moment, but by the daily actions we take to nurture and sustain it. When we say love is a verb, we are acknowledging that love is demonstrated through behaviors. It's not enough to simply feel love. We must express it through tangible acts. These actions could range from the small gestures like making a cup of tea for someone you care about, to the larger, more significant sacrifices like showing up for someone during a difficult time. Love is evident in the way we speak to one another. Our words can either build up or tear down. A kind word, a thoughtful compliment, or simply taking the time to listen can have a profound impact on the relationship. Words, when used thoughtfully, are powerful tools for showing love. In contrast, words spoken in anger or frustration, if not tempered with care, can damage the connection we share. Moreover, love involves sacrifices, sometimes small, sometimes significant. Sacrifice is not about self-neglect, but about considering the needs and well-being of another person alongside or even before our own. It's about prioritizing the relationship, even when it means making difficult choices. For example, love may require us to compromise on our plans, to adjust our expectations, or to put in extra effort when we're tired or stretched thin. These sacrifices are not burdens. They are expressions of love that strengthen the bond between two people. They demonstrate that we are willing to go beyond what is convenient or comfortable for the sake of nurturing the connection we value. Love, therefore, is not something that can be measured by a single moment of infatuation or by a grand declaration. It is shown in the ongoing effort to be present for one another, to take care of each other, and to communicate honestly. It is in the consistency of our actions, the way we choose to love each day, even when the feeling of excitement may not be present. Over time, it is these consistent actions, rather than fleeting emotions, that build the deep, lasting love we seek. To love is to act. To love is to show up, to care, to nurture, and to put the relationship above all else. And in doing so, love grows stronger and more resilient, not because we feel it more intensely, but because we choose to act on it day after day. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, a state we must avoid in order to protect ourselves from being hurt or rejected. Yet, in the realm of love, vulnerability is not something to fear, but something to embrace. True love, the kind that is deep, lasting, and transformative, is vulnerability. To love someone fully and authentically, we must be willing to expose our true selves' flaws, fears, and all. Only when we allow ourselves to be seen without the masks and walls we so often hide behind can we experience real connection. At its core, vulnerability is about being open and honest with ourselves and others. It's the willingness to show up in relationships without pretending to be perfect or invulnerable. To love deeply means acknowledging that we are imperfect, that we have insecurities, and that we are all works in progress. When we let go of the need to be flawless and allow ourselves to be seen in our rawness, we open the door to true intimacy. This level of openness, although intimidating, is essential for genuine connection. Without it, we remain distant, hiding behind walls of self-protection and fear. Love grows in the fertile ground of vulnerability, because it is only through being vulnerable that we allow ourselves to truly connect with others. When we share our innermost thoughts, feelings, and fears, we invite others to do the same. Vulnerability fosters trust, which is the bedrock of any meaningful relationship. When we open up, we send a message that it is safe to be ourselves, that it's okay to be imperfect, and that we are willing to accept each other as we are. In this space, love flourishes because it is no longer contingent on ideals of perfection or superficial expectations. It becomes rooted in acceptance, compassion, and the understanding that we are all human. However, vulnerability does not come easily. It requires courage, especially when we have been hurt in the past. There is always the risk of rejection, judgment, or disappointment, but avoiding vulnerability only perpetuates loneliness. We cannot build deep, lasting love on a foundation of guardedness. When we hold back parts of ourselves, we withhold the possibility of true connection. Love requires us to take risks, to trust that being seen and loved for who we truly are is worth the potential pain. When we choose vulnerability, we choose authenticity. We choose to build relationships based on the truth of who we are, not on who we think we should be. In doing so, we allow love to grow not in the shadow of fear, but in the light of openness and understanding. The deepest connections are not made by hiding parts of ourselves, but by showing up fully, allowing ourselves to be seen and accepted just as we are. Only then can love bloom into something real, something enduring, and something profoundly meaningful. Setting boundaries is often misunderstood as an act of selfishness, but in reality, it is one of the most loving and respectful things we can do, both for ourselves and for others. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. Instead, they are the lines we draw that protect our emotional, physical, and mental well-being. In relationships, boundaries are essential for love to thrive because they allow us to show up as our true selves without overextending ourselves or losing our sense of identity. When we set boundaries, we are not saying no to the people we love. We are saying yes to our own well-being. Boundaries are about knowing what we need, what we are capable of, and what we are willing to offer without compromising our own health or happiness. By establishing clear boundaries, we communicate that we value ourselves enough to protect our time, energy, and emotions. This act of self-respect sends a powerful message. Love is not about giving until we have nothing left, but about finding a balance where both people's needs are met. Healthy boundaries create space for love to grow without resentment or burnout. When we are constantly giving and sacrificing without regard for our own needs, we may feel overwhelmed or taken advantage of. This can breed feelings of frustration and bitterness, which can ultimately erode the love we share. On the other hand, when we honor our boundaries and express our limits clearly, we create an environment where both people in the relationship feel respected and valued. This is the foundation for a healthy, sustainable connection, where love is mutual and both individuals feel seen and heard. Respecting boundaries is just as important as setting them. In a loving relationship, we must not only express our own limits, but also honor the boundaries of others. This shows that we care not just about our own needs, but about the well-being of the other person. By listening when someone expresses their boundaries and respecting those limits, we foster an environment of trust and safety. When we both give and receive respect in this way, we build a deeper, more authentic connection that is rooted in mutual care and understanding. Love cannot flourish in a space where boundaries are ignored or disrespected. Without boundaries, we risk losing ourselves in the relationship, sacrificing our needs for the sake of another. But when we establish and respect boundaries, we create room for love to blossom in a healthy and balanced way. Setting boundaries is not a rejection of love. It is an act of deep care and commitment to ensuring that love can grow without causing harm or exhaustion. In this space, love can thrive, be nurtured, and flourish as both individuals are able to show up fully without fear of being depleted or taken for granted. Love is often romanticized as something that flows effortlessly, a force that fills us with joy and excitement. But the truth is, love is not always easy. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, and challenging. There are moments when love feels strained or when the weight of life's difficulties makes it hard to continue showing up for each other. It is during these times when everything seems difficult that the true measure of love is revealed. Love is not just a fleeting feeling or a momentary rush of emotion. It is a commitment to stand by someone's side even when the road ahead is uncertain or painful. Showing up, even when it's hard, is the essence of love in its truest form. It's easy to love someone when things are going well, when life is smooth and when joy is abundant. But what about when things get tough? What about when there's conflict, misunderstanding, or heartache? The real test of love comes when we choose to stay, to engage, and to work through the challenges together. It's in these moments that love is less about how we feel and more about what we choose to do. Love is a decision. It's a conscious choice to show up for someone, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or emotionally draining. This is not about blindly enduring hardship. It's about actively choosing to stand in the gap, to offer support, and to demonstrate our care through action. When we choose to love in the face of difficulty, we are demonstrating our commitment to the relationship, our respect for the other person, and our willingness to invest in the future we share. It's a decision that requires vulnerability, patience, and sometimes forgiveness. Empathy is often regarded as one of the most powerful tools in creating deep, meaningful connections with others. It goes beyond simply understanding another person's situation. It's about genuinely feeling their emotions, stepping into their world, and seeing life through their eyes. In the context of love, empathy is not just a supportive response. It is the very heart of the relationship. Without empathy, love can easily become transactional or surface level. But when we approach others with empathy, we demonstrate the true depth of our care, showing that we not only understand their feelings, but we also honor and respect their experiences. When we practice empathy, we go beyond surface level conversations and engage with the heart of the other person's emotions. It's more than just listening, it's listening deeply and compassionately without judgment or the urge to fix. Empathy allows us to tune into the nuances of the other person's experience, picking up on emotions that may not be immediately obvious. It's about being present without distraction in moments when someone is hurting or struggling and offering a safe space for them to express themselves. In doing so, we demonstrate our love by offering them the greatest gift we can give, our full attention, understanding, and support. True empathy means allowing ourselves to connect with the other person's pain, joy, confusion, or fear without rushing to offer solutions or trying to fix the situation. Often, in moments of emotional vulnerability, people don't need advice or platitudes, they simply need to be heard. When we listen without judgment or interruption, we create a space where the other person can feel seen and validated. This deep listening, free of any agenda or need to be right, is a powerful expression of love. It says to the other person, your feelings matter, your experience matters, you are not alone in this. Empathy allows us to connect on a level that words alone cannot. Sometimes, no matter how well-intentioned, words can fall short in expressing the depth of what someone is going through. In those moments, empathy fills the gap. It's the warmth of a hand on a shoulder, the silent presence in a room when there are no answers, or the shared understanding in a quiet glance. Empathy transcends words and communicates love in ways that go beyond language, making the other person feel safe, supported, and cared for. When we approach others with empathy, we are not only showing our love for them in the moment, but we are also building trust and connection. Empathy deepens the bond between people, fostering a relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. It allows us to move past superficial interactions and creates a foundation of genuine care. In a world where people often feel unheard or misunderstood, empathy is a rare and precious gift. It is the key that unlocks deeper, more compassionate love, helping us truly see one another and connect at a soul-deep level. Love is often idealized as a flawless, unconditional bond, but the reality is that love, while not requiring perfection, does demand accountability. Accountability in love is about taking responsibility for our actions, words, and behaviors and recognizing their impact on the people we care about. It's about being honest with ourselves and with each other, acknowledging when we've fallen short, and actively working to improve. Without accountability, love can become stagnant, toxic, or even destructive. Healthy relationships, built on mutual respect and trust, require both individuals to hold themselves and each other accountable in order to foster growth, understanding, and compassion. When we love someone, we not only share good times, but also navigate challenges, misunderstandings, and moments of conflict. In these times, accountability becomes crucial. It's not enough to just feel sorry or express regret. Accountability is about actively taking responsibility for our mistakes and seeking to make things right. It means acknowledging when we've hurt someone, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and taking steps to repair the damage. This requires humility and the courage to admit that we are not always perfect, but that we are committed to doing better. By holding ourselves accountable, we create an environment where the other person feels safe to be vulnerable, knowing that their feelings will be respected and valued. Equally important is holding others accountable in a loving, respectful way. Accountability in relationships is not about control or judgment. It's about creating space for honest communication and growth. When we see behavior that is hurtful or disrespectful, love compels us to address it, not sweep it under the rug. This doesn't mean criticizing or condemning. Rather, it's about having constructive conversations that focus on understanding and improving the relationship. It's about setting boundaries and making it clear what is and isn't acceptable, but doing so with empathy and care. When we hold others accountable, we show that we value the relationship enough to address issues directly and to work together to make it stronger. Accountability also requires mutual growth. In a healthy relationship, both individuals are constantly evolving and learning from one another. Accountability encourages this growth by promoting self-reflection, communication, and mutual respect. It challenges us to be better partners, to examine our actions and behaviors, and to be proactive in creating a positive, supportive environment. Love without accountability can easily lead to resentment, misunderstanding, or unhealthy patterns. However, when both people in the relationship are committed to holding themselves and each other accountable, they create a foundation where trust and respect thrive. Love is often depicted in grand gestures, romantic dinners, expensive gifts, or dramatic declarations. While these acts can be beautiful expressions of affection, they don't capture the full depth of love. True love is found in the small, everyday moments that we often overlook or take for granted. It's in the quiet conversations after a long day, the shared laughter over a cup of coffee, or the simple touch of a hand that provides comfort and reassurance. These small moments are the threads that weave the fabric of a loving relationship, and they are where love truly flourishes. In the rush of life, it's easy to focus on the big events or the major milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, vacations, and forget the power of the little things. But love is not always about the dramatic moments. It's about the everyday acts of kindness, the small gestures that show we care. It's in the way we listen attentively when our partner talks, the way we make time for each other even in the busiest of schedules, or the way we offer a reassuring smile during a difficult moment. These small acts may seem insignificant at the time, but they are what build the foundation of trust, comfort, and connection in a relationship. Celebrating the small moments is about recognizing the richness in the everyday interactions that often go unnoticed. A kind word, a warm embrace, or a shared glance can carry more weight than any grand gesture because they are rooted in the day-to-day rhythm of life. They are reminders that love is not just a series of special events, but a continuous flow of care and attention. These moments often reflect the depth of our love more than anything else because they show how we show up for one another in the simplest ways, day after day. Forgiveness is often seen as an act of kindness towards someone else, but in reality, it is just as much a gift we give ourselves. To love someone deeply is to be willing to forgive, not because the hurt or the wrongdoing is acceptable, but because we choose to release ourselves from the grip of anger and pain. When we hold on to grudges or let resentment fester, we allow the hurt to continue controlling us, robbing us of peace and emotional freedom. Forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior, but about choosing to heal, to let go, and to move forward in a way that honors our own emotional well-being. At its core, forgiveness is a conscious decision. It's not about forgetting the harm that was done, nor is it about excusing the actions that cause pain. Instead, forgiveness is a powerful act of self-liberation. It's about refusing to allow anger or resentment or bitterness to take root in our hearts and minds. These negative emotions can be all-consuming and they can prevent love from thriving. When we forgive, we choose to stop carrying the weight of the past and allow ourselves the freedom to love and to be loved without the interference of past wounds. Choosing to forgive doesn't mean that the hurt goes away instantly or that we no longer feel the pain. It doesn't mean that everything is made right again or that the person who caused the pain is absolved of responsibility. Forgiveness is often a process, sometimes slow, sometimes painful, but it is a decision we make each time we choose not to let the anger control us. Forgiveness allows us to release the emotional hold that the incident has over us, creating space for healing and growth. In relationships, forgiveness is essential because we are all imperfect beings. We will hurt each other, sometimes unintentionally and sometimes not. But love requires that we forgive, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for the relationship to thrive. Holding on to grudges can create walls between us, making it difficult to connect authentically. When we choose to forgive, we rebuild trust, we rebuild connection, and we create space for deeper love to grow. In this way, forgiveness becomes a measure of love, a reflection of our willingness to move past the pain and embrace the possibility of healing and reconciliation. Forgiveness also requires vulnerability. It takes courage to let go of the hurt and trust that by forgiving, we are not weak but strong. It is in choosing to forgive that we take control of our emotional well-being, not allowing the past to dictate our future. Love flourishes when we make forgiveness a part of our practice, as it allows us to heal, to move forward, and to continue growing together. By forgiving, we release the hold of past pain and make room for the love and connection that are meant to define our relationships. Self-love is not just a trendy concept or an abstract idea, it is the essential foundation upon which all other love is built. You cannot give what you do not have, and if you don't love and care for yourself, it becomes nearly impossible to offer genuine love to others. Self-love is the practice of honoring yourself with compassion, acceptance, and respect. It means recognizing your worth, embracing your flaws, and treating yourself with the kindness you would offer to a close friend. When we learn to love ourselves in this way, we create the emotional capacity to love others fully and authentically. At the heart of self-love is self-compassion. It's the ability to forgive yourself when you make mistakes and to treat yourself with the same understanding you would offer someone you care about deeply. Self-compassion doesn't mean being complacent with flaws or failures, but it does mean acknowledging that you are human and that perfection is not required to deserve love. When we are compassionate with ourselves, we create a safe space for growth and healing. We understand that mistakes are part of the journey, and rather than beating ourselves up over them, we can learn from them and move forward with grace. Self-acceptance is another pillar of self-love. It is about embracing who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your quirks, and your unique qualities. When we practice self-acceptance, we stop trying to be someone we're not to fit into society's expectations or the expectations of others. We stop seeking validation from external sources and start recognizing that we are enough just as we are. This acceptance allows us to feel secure in ourselves, which in turn enables us to show up authentically in our relationships. When we accept ourselves, we stop seeking perfection, and we begin to offer love that is grounded in the truth of who we are. Self-respect is a critical element of self-love. It means setting boundaries, valuing your time, and recognizing that you deserve to be treated with dignity. Respecting yourself means not tolerating behavior from others that diminishes your worth or compromises your well-being. When we respect ourselves, we communicate to the world that we value our time, our energy, and our emotions. This self-respect becomes a model for how we expect to be treated in our relationships and empowers us to cultivate healthy reciprocal connections. When we practice self-love, we not only become more resilient, but also more capable of loving others. The love we offer others is only as deep and genuine as the love we have for ourselves. By nurturing our own well-being, we build the emotional capacity to be present for others in their times of need. Self-love gives us the strength to show up authentically in relationships, to give without depleting ourselves, and to offer love that is rooted in wholeness rather than scarcity. In this way, self-love is not an act of selfishness, but a prerequisite for creating deep, meaningful connections with others. It is through the practice of loving ourselves that we unlock the ability to love others fully, freely, and without condition. Love is often portrayed as a perfect, idealized bond between two people, a flawless connection that transcends all challenges. But in reality, love is far from perfect, and that imperfection is what makes it so beautiful and powerful. There is no perfect formula for love, no one-size-fits-all answer that guarantees happiness and harmony. Instead, love is about showing up every day, committing to the journey, and navigating the ups and downs together. It is messy, unpredictable, and often flawed, but that is precisely what makes it meaningful and worth pursuing. When we expect love to be flawless, we set ourselves up for disappointment. We envision a relationship where everything always goes smoothly, where there are no conflicts or misunderstandings, and where both people are constantly in sync. However, the reality is that every relationship will face challenges. People are complex, with different experiences, backgrounds, and personalities. At times, we will disagree, hurt each other, or struggle to understand one another. These imperfections are not a sign that the love is wrong. Rather, they are a natural part of the process. It is through these moments of difficulty that love is tested and refined, not diminished. Love doesn't need to be flawless to be meaningful. In fact, it is often the flaws and imperfections that make love richer and more authentic. When we love someone, we are not loving a perfect person, but a real complex human being. We are loving their strengths and their vulnerabilities, their light and their darkness. True love doesn't demand perfection, it embraces the imperfections and sees them as an integral part of the person we love. It is the willingness to love someone despite their flaws, and to be loved in return for who we are, not for who we think we should be. What truly matters in love is not perfection, but the commitment to show up day after day and to face life together, no matter what it brings. Love is about being real, being vulnerable, and being honest with one another. It's about embracing the messy, imperfect moments and choosing to stay through the difficult times. Love is not about waiting for everything to be perfect, but about learning and growing together as we navigate the challenges life throws our way. In conclusion, love is not a perfect, flawless concept, but rather a journey of connection, growth, and vulnerability. It is built on the foundation of self-love, accountability, and empathy, with a deep understanding that love thrives in the small, everyday moments. While it's often messy, imperfect, and challenging, it is precisely these qualities that make love meaningful and worth pursuing. By embracing imperfections, showing up for one another, practicing forgiveness, and committing to the process of growth, we create relationships that are authentic, resilient, and enduring. True love is not measured by grand gestures or flawless moments, but by the willingness to be real, to heal, and to continue the journey together regardless of the challenges we may face. Love, in its most genuine form, is about embracing the imperfect and finding beauty in the commitment to show up every day, loving and being loved in return. Let us measure our love not in perfection, but in the depth of our connection, the strength of our vulnerability, and the resilience of our hearts. Thank you.